This section of the show is called Ask FPA. You can send your medical questions to tv@fpalex.com and include your name if you would like for us to use it on the air. Tonight's question is, the doctor told me I have a cardiac risk score of 9%. What does that mean? Asked by Samuel Simpson of Lexington, Kentucky. And here to help me answer that question is Ms. Hannah Brugger, who is a co-worker of mine, nurse practitioner at Family Practice Associates. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, now we used to talk to people a long time ago. You got to get your cholesterol down. You want, low levels, your HDL. But now there's a cardiac risk score, which is a little bit more involved. Tell me about that.
We have the ASCVD, and that stands for atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, and it was put out by American Cardiology. And now we use things like blood pressure. We still use the cholesterol to calculate those numbers, tobacco use status, diabetes, your sex, your race, lifestyle habits. Those types of things play more of a role into this score. And basically, if a person has a score over 7.5%, I think Samuel had a 9%, that's actually a 10-year risk of having a heart disease or a stroke.
So when they say cardiovascular risk, you're looking at, okay, if my risk is 9% or 29%, it goes higher. You're more likely to have a stroke or a heart attack based on all those numbers in the computer, right?
Yeah, we're just looking at the next 10 years, so that's actually giving the number for the chance and using a wide population to come up with these numbers to figure out what your chance of actually having a heart attack or a stroke is, yes.
So I come in and I've got a cardiovascular risk of 15%. What are you going to tell me to do?
Well, anyone over 7.5, basically as a general rule, some things change that, like diabetes. But anyone over 7.5, I want to start you on a medication. Usually we use a medication called a statin medication. I also want you to exercise. I want everyone out there to exercise. I want everyone out there to eat a heart-healthy diet. We really have to remember that cholesterol doesn't start just building up when we hit 40 or 50 or any of those age. It really starts in our 20s. So that 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week, eating heart-healthy diet, all those things are important over a lifetime so that we don't get to the point of having a score at 9% or 15%. But if it is, then we have medications out there that can help reduce that cholesterol and stop further plaque buildup on our arteries.
I always tell people one of the risk factors is age. So the older you get, the higher that number goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can't change yourself from getting old, but you can work on your blood pressure and your smoking habits and your exercise. And I mentioned blood pressure. Is there a certain number you shoot for?
Well, it has changed over time, but definitely under the 140/90, so your top number being 140 and bottom number being 90. But, 120/80 is considered a good blood pressure, and we really like numbers around that. And definitely, having high blood pressure really damages your arteries, and over time, if we leave blood pressure untreated, then that's an added risk score, and that's why we include blood pressure as well as cholesterol into coming up with that 10-year risk score.
All right, so let's say I don't pay attention to you, and I go ahead and have a heart attack, and I happen to be in an airport or a school gymnasium or any public place, and I have a cardiac arrest or a syncopal passing out episode. There's now what we call AEDs are everywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
Defibrillators. Tell me when you see that in the box. Tell me about them.
Yeah, you often see them when you walk into airports and, like you say, a lot of public buildings. And even without understanding CPR or anything like that, if we see someone who's down on the ground, we can go grab this machine. And it's always very easy to use. They make it as simple as possible. But they always have like one central button that is basically a start button. You push start, you push play, and it tells you exactly what to do. The pads that come with it, they even have pictures and show you exactly where to place the pads. But the machine will literally take you through the process of placing the AED, and it will assess the heart rhythm and tell you if you actually need to shock in them.
So you do have somebody who has an arrest. You get the machine out, you open it up. It will tell you step by step how to do it. So you don't have to be CPR trained.
You don't.
And even these little pictures, they show you where to stick the pad, and then it will analyze and can make the decision whether to
Yes.
Shock.
Yes, and early shock or early defibrillation really is the best chance of survival if someone does have a heart attack.
Okay, so when this starts, call 911?
Absolutely,
Right.
it's the first thing, and usually in those public buildings, there's more than one person, and I recommend to everyone, if you're in, well, everyone should be interested in going ahead and getting a CPR class, going ahead and learning how to do CPR, both for your loved ones and for your community.
That's just great information. And before we get out of here, too, one other thing that has nothing to do with cardiovascular risk or AED, immunizations in schools, since we're getting ready to come up, there are 2 new ones that you need to remind people
Yeah, over the
about.
last 10 years, we've probably been doing this with some of our younger kids, but if people haven't gotten hepatitis A vaccine, there's 2 hepatitis A vaccines required. They're given 6 months apart. It's the same medication, but given 6 months apart, 2 doses. And all children entering school this year must have that. As well, if you're over 16, you also need a meningococcal vaccine.
All right. That's great information. Shocking information. We'll be right back.